Hi, I'm Bruce Brittain.
I'm Holly Brittain.
Welcome to Rose Hill Farm. This is a really old farm. It's one of New York's 10 bicentennial farms. It's, I believe, the only fruit orchard in that grouping. Holly and I and our family were fortunate enough to be able to take over the farm about 5 years ago and continue what has been just an amazing place for the public to come and for our community to enjoy. So we're standing right now at the top of the hill towards the back of the property, which gives you a nice view of most of the orchard. Most people don't actually venture this far when they come into the farm. Usually stop at the house or the farm stand. From here you can see the new cider orchard that we planted, which is all high density. These are these big posts here. And then to the right, beyond it up the hill, is a new peach orchard that we planted. And then beyond it, everything in the distance is apples. And behind us, to the west, is our cherry orchard. So we're one of the smaller farms around. It's not a big production place. Exclusively pick your own. And we recently started a cider business to diversify the farm. It's one of the ways to keep something like this sustainable.
So we started making cider around 2 years ago. This cider production space is in the lower level of this large barn in the distance. The barn was rebuilt, we believe, around 1912 after a fire. So what we found was a mix of timbers that were likely from around the early 1900s and some that were probably scrapped together from the prior barn that sat before the fire. We analyzed the barn with our structural engineer and determined that it couldn't stay as it was in order to open to the public. We weren't able to fix it. So what we did is we carefully took the frame down with the timber frame with a crane and a pretty large team, cataloged and organized everything on the site, determined which members needed to be repaired. We dug a new foundation to have a larger headroom for the production space on the lower level. So we make our cider and wine all on the lower level. There's a deck on the back, which you'll see. And then the upper level we converted to the tasting room and so that's what we just recently opened to the public.
Great, let's take a walk down and we'll start showing you some of the cidery. So as we walk down, we planted over the past 2 years a little over 2,000 apple trees that are specific to making cider. We're going to have another 600 or 800 planted by the middle of next year. So that'll bring the total to close to 3,000 trees across 70 some odd varieties. These were chosen by all of us with input from our cider maker, input from the whole team. What we tried to do was build a collection that had significant variety to enable us to use not just the cider fruit in our cider, but all the fruit that we have here in our cider. Part of the vision for having the cidery was that we had lots of extra fruit. It doesn't make a lot of sense for a farm this size to wholesale anymore. The market's just too competitive with large-scale farms. So when we decided to switch to pick your own, there was just simply lots of leftover fruit. We needed to find a way to use it. In order to use it effectively, we needed to have more varieties that had lots of tannins, had lots of acids, so that we could blend in some of the more culinary varieties or crossover varieties and actually make really, really good cider. And we found our cider maker by chance. He's fantastic and finds a way to use every ounce of leftover fruit on the property. So we make stone fruit jerkums. It's an old English style fruit wine. We make straight apple cider. He brings in some grapes to make some wines. We have a a cherry apple co-ferment that we make with cherries and apples. We have a blueberry and apple co-ferment called our Palm Blue. So it's really fantastic to see the array of things that can be created with the fruit that we grow here. And as our cider block comes into production, we'll bring in less and less cider fruit and be able to use more and more of everything that's grown here.
I think one of the interesting things about the fruit wines we're making is that it enables us to enjoy last year's season. So this year is a poor year for peach production. We're down to we had some frost damage in the spring, and so we have about 30% of our typical peach and plum crop. Last year was an incredible year in the Hudson Valley for stone fruit. So we were able to make four or five different products with all of the stone fruit that we have on the farm. And so we're able to enjoy all of that this year in a year where the peaches are rather disappointing, especially for the pick-your-own customers. So to be able to explain that to customers coming in, it's a disappointing year, you might not get as many peaches off the trees that you'd like, but you could taste the bounty of last year's harvest today as well.
Yep. So why don't we take a pop in the cidery quickly. About when we took over the farm 5 years ago, we decided we wanted to take, because we were dropping wholesale, decided we wanted to take, or it was necessary to drop wholesale because of this, I suppose. We wanted to take a more holistic approach to our orchard management style. And that's very consistent with how we make our fruit wines and ciders as well. Everything's made with a natural process, natural fermentations, lots of pet nats. It's just, again, a reflection of our orchard and our orchard practices. So this is the old barn renewed.
This is the site of the original barn. We rebuilt it with the exact proportions, window locations. It's sited the exact same way with views to the Catskills in relationship to the existing barns that were here. Like I said before, the timber frame in here is original as well. We put it back together after we built the barn. The hay lofts are the exact same locations as the original, and what was the grain storage room is now the bathroom area to the right.
Come on in.
We tried as much as possible to utilize the talent of our neighbors. So one of our neighbors up the road is an artist and does kind of architectural production, and so he did the brass panels underneath the bar. A local welder put together all of these hog panel railings that you'll see both inside and outside the barn. The garage doors and were from Hudson Valley Doors locally, one of the companies nearby. And the flooring is actually pretty interesting. The underside of the barn, we took the original wood joists that spanned the lower storage area, and we took them to a sawmill, planed them down into flooring, and then intermixed, where there's damaged wood, we added some wood, but it's a mix of red and white oak. So this was original to the barn, but we used it in a new way.
The deck wasn't original, we put that on. This is just a fantastic view of the orchard for people to enjoy while they're visiting.
So we really had an inside-outside concept for the design of this facility, knowing that we would have, we'd probably be quiet. It'll be quiet here in the winter, but we'll be quite busy during apple season. So the concept was for folks to kind of open the big doors, allow them to flow in and out, enjoy the space, pop in, say hi, not necessarily have to commit to sitting down and eating a meal per se.
Yep. And then why don't we'll pop back out and head down to the farm stands, and everyone's sort of getting a tour of Rose Hill in reverse. So we run as much as we can on solar here. You can see the solar panels that we have out here, and there's some on the top of the shop, one of our other ag buildings. And then just down the road, one of the first buildings that you'll hit after the house when you drive in our driveway is the farm stand, where you can see everyone enjoying Pick Your Own this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time to watch a little bit about Rose Hill. Hopefully we'll see you soon.